Just one more follow-up question to that. Obviously, the direction of even desktop applications these days is to be able to connect up to services.
Sure.
People want to talk to the Flickr API or the Twitter API and so forth. Does Delphi 2007 and beyond have support for
yeah,
web
absolutely.
services?
Both on native and managed side as well. Yeah, we we have the ability to import any WSDL API and use it right inside your native application. That's another thing that's really neat. Is again, you don't have to rely on the managed platform to do that kind of thing. But you can, of course, use the managed imports as well.
Right.
But yeah, absolutely. If you want to, matter of fact, one of our R&D engineers, Steve Trefethan, he has a blog, and he spends a lot of time playing around with that kind of thing. And his blog actually is integrated with Google Maps API, and he's been doing a lot of mashup stuff and integrating with some of these other APIs. So that whole mashup thing is also very interesting to us as well. Is the ability to software as a service. Delphi is perfectly capable of importing any of those.
And then doing it natively,
APIs.
and then
do it natively
on the desktop, I guess.
Right.
We're talking about, so you could have basically desktop-hosted mashups in an environment where you could really build out the rest of the application around that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
You have something like, well, pick one, Zillow, okay, which is a great mashup.
Right.
But there's limited functionalities when you get out there in the mashup.
You're stuck in the browser, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a full value proposition. It's kind of like a cool, neat thing, and they're trying to sell you this and whatever it comes out to be. But it'd be very cool to be able to do desktop mashups and get a big, fast leg up.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Our the team that works on our the team that works on our web services importation thing, their demo app was to import MapPoint and then mash that with I think they had, how did they have that? They had Amazon in there somewhere, and then eBay.
Okay.
So they had mashed in all those things together into a desktop application to kind of mush it all together to see if it would all work together.
I have to say that sounds really attractive to me because you can just get a lot of functionality that way that you couldn't get otherwise.
Yeah, so you have, now at this point, you're not stuck to the browser, right? You're not limited to what the browser can do. Now you're limited to what you can do with the Win32 API, which is anything, right?
Right.
Anything you want,
Well, let me ask this. There are a lot of, let's call them old Delphi developers. They've been out there with Delphi 3 and 4 and
well, maybe long-term Delphi developers, but they aren't really old.
I'm old. Okay, I'm probably not. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So they've been out there. They've stuck with you guys for a long time. Now, how's the migration path for them forward into 2007 into your product? And what are you doing to make their lives easier? And the reason I say this is that when VB6 stopped and .NET started, yes, there was a conversion wizard, but no way in hell could you convert any type of really robust VB6 application in .NET. And it was basically, it's VB.NET, but it's a different language.
Right, and
it's a whole new ballgame.
Right. So what's the Delphi story?
Well, we've had almost a fanatical backwards compatibility.
Okay.
We're very, very fanatical about that. We're very, very conscious of breaking code, of people being able to bring their applications forward. And we get support questions or sales calls or things like that. That's almost everybody asks that. Well, I'm using Delphi 5 or Delphi 6 or Delphi 7 or whatever version they're using. Can I bring my applications forward? And the answer is almost always, well, yes, you can as long as you have all the source code.
Sure.
There's ways you can get stuck with components that if you don't have the source code for components, you only have binary representations. But generally speaking, an app that you've been working on a previous version of Delphi is going, and as long as you have the source code, you can bring that forward. And we're almost fanatical about that, making sure that things are forward compatible. Matter of fact, one of the demos we like to do is we take a demo application from Delphi 1 in 1995, and we compile it in Delphi 2007, and it compiles and runs.
Okay.
And we can also compile it and run it in our VCL.NET as well. Same application, same code base.
So all those MicroISVs out there that have Delphi products, let's say they released in 2001, 2002, maybe 1999, they should be thinking maybe it's time to hop to 2007 here for no other reason than they can start making access of all these mashup features that are now available.
Sure, and Vista,
And the Vista features.
stuff.
Right.
You're
Have
moving
you-
forward to Vista?
Have you dealt with the user account control issues with Vista?
That was one of the challenges for us in deploying Delphi 2007 to Vista. Was all of a sudden, program files you can't write there anymore.
Correct.
So we've had, that was what, and certainly we did a lot of that. And so we had to, change our install, change things like where the demos go.
Yeah.
Part of the deal too, of course, is anytime you compile an application, the demos they write to that directory, so that kind of thing.
Right.
As far as deployed applications, our applications are standard Win32 API
So they're
applications.
copacetic.
So yeah, they'll be fine.
Okay.
If it's
Like everybody else.
they're like no different than anybody else. I mean, if your application tries to connect to a remote socket, Vista's going to pop up and say,
As it should.
Hey,
the whole
right,
idea, yeah.
Exactly.
that kind of thing.
But I guess part of the question is, did you provide support for developers to deal with manifests or give them guidance on manifests as they develop their apps for Vista?
Well, yeah, no more than anybody else, I
Okay.
guess. I mean, you can build a manifest and add that in either to the resource or just
Okay.
in the same directory and
Okay.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Back-
So definitely executable work in that exact same
Yeah.
way.
Okay.